Hey, what's up and welcome to Bits and Bytes, episode number 6. Today is March 21st, 2015, and I am your host, Jeff Weisbein. I am also here to say that I'm so sorry that I haven't really been around to do a podcast in the past several weeks. The reason for that is, well, it's not about me being lazy or anything like that. It's really just about the fact that I've been super busy and I really just couldn't get around to doing. Plus, I've been doing a little traveling in between. So unfortunately, I just haven't been able to get the podcast done. That being said, I am here today, a day early, as I said I might be. So here we are, episode number 6. I'm super excited to talk about what we have planned for today. So without me saying anything else, let's just dive in, shall we? So the first thing I want to discuss is the Apple event, right? The Apple event happened, like 2 weeks ago now, almost at this point, March 9th. And before I get to anything else, I just want to say, yes, I am planning to pre-order the Apple Watch come April 10th. And in terms of what I plan to get the 42mm stainless steel one with the sport band, but I also plan to buy an additional band that I will use for like everyday use, like, just whatever, non-exercise related things, I guess, office stuff, meetings, whatever. But now with that out of the way, let's talk about the event itself a little bit, right? So frankly, when it comes to the event, I was bored. Like, for the majority of the event, I just felt pretty bored. And for those who know me and who have followed Best Techie and things like that, know that I'm an Apple fan. I love Apple products. I think they build quality products. I think their products are high end. They maintain their value. And if you don't believe me, I sold a 2008 Mac Pro for over $700 this year, earlier this year or late last year or so. So that to me is incredible. The fact that a computer from 2000, like if you tried to sell a PC that was from that year, it would sell for not even that much. It would a couple $100 at most. So I like that about the products. I love iOS. I love OS 10. I love the way the products look and feel and they operate. So, not just me, but when it came to the event on Monday, on March 9th, I was just bored. I think the real problem with the event was that we knew everything that they had shown us, essentially. The only thing that we didn't know that they showed us was the new MacBook, which was a surprise. I'll talk about that in a second. But also, we also found out about the pricing and the availability of the Apple Watch, right? Now, I know I'm not alone here with this feeling of being bored by the Apple event. In fact, I know senior writer at Best Techie, Brian Rubin, happens to agree with me. So I want to pitch out the question to you before we move on in this Apple discussion. Do you agree with me? Let me know. Were you bored by the Apple event? You can tweet me your thoughts. My handle again on Twitter is @Jeff Weisbein, my name. I'm curious to know what you think. Frankly, I was just bored. The whole event just... The only time I really was up on my edge of my seat was when they announced the pricing and the availability of the Apple Watch. They rehashed a lot of the things they had already shown us, showing off the Apple Watch. Now when it comes to something actually brand spanking new that they showed us, it was the new MacBook, right? And I was shocked by this device. So were you? I was not. This came out of left field. I was not expecting this to be our traditional MacBook when they first were talking about it until they just said it's the MacBook, right? Now, from a specs perspective, which, by the way, specs I feel like nowadays are less and less important in the grand scheme of things, since so much stuff is online on the web in terms of the data and access to tools and things like that, and apps and all that other stuff, and a lot of the stuff is also on our phones now. I just feel like specs are as important as they once were. That being said, for me, this is not a computer that I would want to purchase, but really that's besides the point here. The fact that it has a single USB-C port is kind of something that really threw me. I was not expecting that, especially since that port also acts as the way their MacBook charges. So, like, I was shocked by that. Probably because it's Apple kind of setting the trend again. When the original MacBook Air came out, people probably, I know they were saying the same exact things they're saying now. Here's the thing, though. I think Apple's on the right path here. I just think that this MacBook is a bit ahead, maybe a year or two ahead of its time. Now, I still think they're going to sell a bunch of them, but if it was me talking to someone who was going to purchase it, I'd say, unless you absolutely knew you wanted this laptop and that it was for you, then I'd say give it a few generations before you get the new MacBook. Because in a few generations' time, this laptop's going to be amazing. The MacBook is going to be an amazing device, amazing laptop that people probably who who travel a lot, who want something cool, and fancy and nice looking, plus also has good specs and just is great for portability. You're not going to be able to resist the MacBook. Now, the other question I have is, does Apple go this route with other laptops, right? Is this something that Apple is going to do on the Air and the Pro? I know people have been discussing this and have kind of gone back and forth, and I think they are. I think the key, though, is that they're going to do it eventually. It's not going to be yet. It's not going to probably be in even a year, maybe another 2 years, perhaps. And the reason for this is simple, because the Air and the Pro are versions of this type of laptop are going to have more than one USB-C device. I can't even talk right now. More than one USB-C port. They have to. I just can't imagine a MacBook Pro with only one port and not having Thunderbolt at all. Now, whether that means they'll have multiple USB-C ports or have just multiple USB-C plus a couple other ports like Thunderbolt 2 and so on, I don't know. But I just can't imagine the Pro line of products not having a Thunderbolt 2 port. It also makes me wonder about the iPhone and the iPad and whether or not they're going to go with the USB-C route and get rid of the Lightning port. Something to consider. I'm not sure what they're going to do. I guess it depends on their future design plans and how they kind of see this all coming together. Maybe they'll stick with the Lightning, but they'll change the USB end, the current USB end of it to USB-C. I don't know. I mean, I'm just thinking out loud here. So if you have any thoughts, feel free to shoot me an email, jeff@besttechie.com, or you can shoot me a tweet, again, at Jeff Weisbein. But yeah, I mean, that's just my thoughts in terms of the Apple products. I really think that Apple is, again, showing how ahead of the curve they are here and really just trying to make it so that they have the latest and greatest products and that they show that they're an innovator in the space. Now, the next thing I want to talk about is Kaya again. Now, last we spoke, I believe it was the very last podcast that I did, we talked about where I was going with Kaya, what we were up to, how we improved the product, and what features we had just completed building and rolling out, right? And I also mentioned that we had revamped our initial outreach email in the sense that we essentially just rewrote the entire thing after we getting some feedback from someone and it just opened our eyes a bit. Now, what we ended up doing, right, when we rewrote it, I told you I'd keep you up to date in terms of how that went. So anyway, we started reaching out to publishers with our new email, right? And I have to say we were very quickly surprised by how well this new email was working. Like, oh my God, wow, it's actually working. We're getting replies from people. And not only are the replies positive, but they want us to set up demos with them. It was like a light bulb had went on. It was amazing. It was an incredible validation of our product, but also just the way we're reaching out to publishers and seeing that they are interested in what we're building here. And to me, when I kind of, took a step back to look at this, it was like, wow, we're getting good replies and we're getting demos. And then on top of that, people are actually signing up after the demos. I was like, wow, like seriously, I was so excited. But yeah, like honestly, I think that the update to Kaya made it a much more appealing product. And the change in language in the email also was helpful. Now, and then combine that with me then demoing the product and people actually seeing what we can do, I just is just working. Now, obviously everything would like to go fast. I would love for everything to speed up and go faster, right? Like just get a bunch of signups at once and do an official launch and all that stuff. But like I realized that we have to kind of take our time a little bit to make sure that everything is ironed out. And we're going to have to make a couple other changes we noticed based on the feedback we're getting from people that are signing up. One of those is kind of making the registration process a bit more seamless. But we'll get into that another time. The other thing I really want to talk about in terms of the Kaya update is something I've learned now that I've gotten to this point in terms of the company, right? So here's what I've learned so far. Persistence is important. It's like so important. You may not get a reply on your first outreach email. And really that's okay. In fact, I'd say most people don't, right? The key though is to send a nice follow-up email, even a second follow-up email after your original follow-up. And one of the things that, I found is that, people say, oh yeah, just send a nice follow-up email, but they don't really explain like, what do you say in a follow-up email? So here's along the lines of what we've been using. And if it helps you, if it helps you, that's great. If it at least gives you an idea of what to say in that sense, I'm happy to share. So here's kind of what here's something like what we're saying. It's hey so-and-so or hi so-and-so. I know inboxes can be a crazy place. And it's like, then you can kind of add your own end to it. It's like, I know inboxes can be a crazy place, but, I was just wondering if you had a chance to look at that email I had sent you. Looking forward to connecting or talking or whatever. Things like that, they don't tell you how to write follow-up emails. You kind of just learn as you go. And even people who are like, yeah, you just have to do a follow-up email. It's like, well, what do I write in my follow-up email? Well, I'm telling you, that's what you write. And they can be very effective. On top of that, one of the other things I've kind of learned from that is that people actually appreciate people who follow through and are persistent. I can't tell you the number of times that people said, I really appreciate you, or to Chris, following up and, being on top of your game, basically. They appreciate that. So don't be afraid of that. Like, don't be afraid like, oh, you're being so naggy. I mean, there comes a point where, yes, you have to cut it off and, go back to them at a later date, months down the road or so. But, if you're just starting trying to communicate with this person, really, you have to be persistent about it. Now, I don't mean like bug the crap out of them. And there is a certain amount of time you should wait between emails. We've seen anywhere probably from three days between the first and the second email has seemed to work. Going after that, you can kind of wait like another 4 or 5 days, business days or so, before you follow up again, because you don't want, if they're busy at that one point in time, then chances are they're going to be busy for a little bit longer. So like, don't, if you like essentially throw all the emails at once, they're going to see them, but they're not going to be able to reply because they're busy or they just don't have the time at the moment. So spread them out a little bit. We've seen that help. Now, one thing also that we struggled with early on, Chris and I, was condensing what Kaya could do and offer in a short email, right? It's one of the most important things you're going to have to be able to do to pitch a product, is to be able to do it short and sweet. Now, there's absolutely no way we could pitch every single feature and function of Kaya and all the benefits in one email that was a paragraph long. It's just impossible. We tried it every single way. But frankly, we found out that you don't even have to do that. In fact, that's probably overwhelming, and you don't want to overwhelm your potential customer, right? So here's what we did. And I'm going to tell you what our current initial email is all about. So we say, it's a paragraph in length, literally 3 to 4 sentences here. And we don't really discuss specific product features in the email, but what we do is discuss, or we mention, the core benefit of our product, or one of the core benefits, the major core benefits. And that is, Kaya makes it so you can spend less time staring at at numbers and more time creating content that's relevant to your audience. And that's, I think, the line that people are excited about, because, honestly, I don't think people like, looking at numbers all day, right? Just to figure out what kind of analytics, to figure out what kind of content's trending on their site. And even then, numbers aren't always the answer, right? They're a helpful indicator, but sometimes you need actual context for those numbers. And that's really what Kaya does, right? So we found that by having a really short email that just explains the core benefit, and then sending that to the publisher, and then in addition to that, I guess we're lucky in the sense that, some people start businesses because they think that it's a really cool idea. While that's true with Kaya, I was also in the publishing space for a very long time, still am, before I started this. So, and Chris is a publisher as well. He has his own travel site / food site. So one of the other things we do is we try and relate to the publisher we're reaching out to as best we can, but also, we can say, we're also publishers and bloggers, and it's one of the other ways we kind of relate to the people we're really reaching out to, and I think that also helps as well. So try and relate, be short, don't overwhelm, focus on a core benefit of your product in your email. Be persistent. These are all super important things that you have to do. So I hope that helps a lot of people who are listening to this podcast. It's definitely something that took a while for us to get to at this point, but we're here now and we're seeing the progress in front of us, right? So that's why I'm super excited about this. And I'm excited because people are using the product, and I think, and the feedback so far has been very positive. People have been getting good insights and just really enjoying using the product. And people have also been publishers, people, the publishing at the sites that we're working with have been very helpful in promoting and also, providing feedback in terms of features that they think that they want more of and things like that. So I thank every single one who has signed up so far. So we're continuing to chug along here. I feel like we're really making some kind of progress every day, and that's really great. I don't expect it to always be that way, but right now it's a good feeling. I'm just going to keep riding with it. Anyway, if you're interested in signing up for Kaya or getting a demo, you can head on over to Get Kaya. That's getkya.com. You can also email me, Jeff at getkaya.com. And thanks for listening. And remember, just make sure you remember, take care of your computers every day. We'll see you next time. Thanks for listening.